Everywhere we go, Cole's like, "Oh, hey, Cole." People are shaking your hand. And
he pays him $5.
I know.
Thank you.
Make me look good. AAA batteries.
You brought your
for my
Game
headlamp.
Boy? You're playing Super Nintendo.
There's so much. There's like,
And I'm like, okay, Grandpa, now remember, this is Canada. Don't just shoot the first deer. Like,
no, Cole.
Chilly. It's kind of cold. Definitely don't shoot a doe. Then drive you up here from Kansas City to shoot a doe.
Right.
And that's how Planet of the Apes was formed.
Cheap
You're Canadian?
I infiltrated.
So lucky.
And
I mean, that's just weeding the gene pool. Like, you don't give a monkey a gun.
See Adam up there? There's some of my life of hunting in boxes.
I know. I was reading that. Full body dogs.
I know.
I've
Those
got another one over
capes and
there.
those.
Yeah, it's like, like at some point, I'm going to get those mounted.
You'll be an old man.
The clear one with the box in it has, I think, 2 ibex, 2 goats, and something else. But it's like, yeah, I remember that.
You should just be. Sometimes it's nice to sit in your shop and look back at all your taxidermy. Hey, Cole?
Look at
Well
all
done.
my taxidermy in boxes.
Well done, Cole.
That's a muskox on the left, couple of goats.
That muskox was 2012.
I don't know. Maybe.
It says on that skull over there.
Nice. It's like, damn, Stalker. Does that sound okay?
Hey, folks, welcome to the Gritty Podcast. We are in lovely Kodiak, Alaska, with the renowned guide and host, Cole Kramer.
Hello.
He hunts bears. And then we're here with Adam Foss. And we just came out of Kodiak. What do you call it? Is it the bush?
Come out of the mountains.
Mountains.
It's all one word, the bush.
The bush.
The bush.
Yeah. And we were hunting sick of blacktails. And this is the first time I've met Adam Foss. I'm not going to lie. I had some preconceived opinions of Adam Foss. Yeah. All positive. Actually, I didn't really know Adam at all. I just observed some of your work and was impressed. And Adam, why don't you tell me a little bit about you? Like, age, birth, height. No, like,
I like long walks on the beach.
Pina coladas.
Me too.
What do you want to know, Brian?
Well, you're right now, currently, what do you do for a living exactly?
I try to make guys like you look really, really cool
That's
in
tough.
front of the camera. So my wife and I run a small film and photography company, digital stuff, all based in the hunting and fishing industry.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're really lucky to be able to do it all over the world and all year round. And I mean, it's pretty.
And how long have you been doing this?
I've been doing it for about 7 years.
7 years.
Yep. Maybe 8. Yeah.
And how old are you now?
31.
31. So right out of college, pretty much?
Yep. Exactly. Yep. So just picked up a camera in high school and really liked it. Mm-hmm. Just because it's such a cool way to take home. You go to these places, and I grew up bow hunting.
Yeah.
And a lot of the times you're not really taking home an animal. It's really not part of it. 95% of the time, as you know. And so taking those photos is, you take a little bit of a piece of it back with you. And so I got to go to all these cool places, and I grew up right outside of the Rocky Mountains in Alberta and hunted bighorn sheep.
You're
over
Canadian?
the counter. I infiltrated big time.
So lucky.
And so when you spend time, you spend time up in Canada in the Rockies, and it's just.
Hey, buddy.
Oh, wow. It's a surprise.
Who had minute 3?
Minute 3. I knew Rocky was coming in.
The neighbor's dog is here.
Go home, Rocky. Go home.
For folks that are listening, we are in Cole Kramer's. What do you call this, Cole?
This is my shop.
Your bachelor pad?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's my shop. There's actually a house on it that's like a house that's a part of my shop. Mm-hmm. I like to call it the shop.
The shop. It has a nice
I don't really want to be known as living in a house. It's like too domesticated.
Right. And you're a mountain man.
That's right, folks. No, it's basically in shambles right now. It used to be all wide open shop, and I'm turning part of the shop into my living quarters and area where I'm going to be hanging some mounts.
It's pretty sweet. But we got the garage door open here, so we might be joined by random passersby. That Cole's like the Kodiak mayor of Kodiak, for us outsiders.
Yeah, no one else knows me here.
Hello,
you just happen to see.
Come on,
the 5 people I know.
Everywhere we go, Cole's like, "Oh, hey, Cole." People are shaking your hand. And
he pays them $5.
I know.
Thank you.
Make me look good. I got visitors. All right. So carry on.
Where was I? Yeah, no, it was a way to take home a little piece of all these places that I got to go. And so that sticks with you, as you know, as a guy who likes to take photos and video.
Kind of self-taught, or did you have any good mentors along the way?
Between
now and 7 years ago?
That's a good question. I think there's been so many people in this industry that are so willing to talk to you, so willing to bring you along. And that's been awesome. I mean, going off on your own is kind of a scary thing, and you don't really know what's going to happen. But by and large, I'd say 99.9% of the people in this industry, in the hunting industry, that I've met along the way have been, I mean, they'll give you the shirt off your back. They are the greatest people. And I think that's why everybody sticks around and wants to work in this industry, because you sort of get into it and you're just so lucky to be able to do it. And I know, we go to the shows and you see all these friends and you maybe only see them once a year. You get to go on these hunts.
Well, that's one thing I asked. I was like, hey, Adam, how long have you known Cole? Because you guys seem like you've been friends since birth. You're quoting lines from movies and trips, and and you guys are like on the
things that make no sense whatsoever.
You're like,
anyone else in our group,
you're on the same wavelength, right? And I'm like, how long is this? And you mentioned yesterday, you were like, well, actually, not that long, but when you spend a week or two in the wilderness on a hunt like this, you get to know someone in a different way than you would if you just met at a show, or you just met in your kind of everyday daily life or whatever. When you spend this much time with someone on an experience like this, you either find out that you really like them or you really can't stand them, you know?
We're still somewhere in between.
Yeah, we're still figuring it out. The only thing we have in common is coffee and cookies. We're like, we agree on that, but no, and you're right. You either really enjoy spending time with someone or you don't. And when Riza mentioned from Loophole that, they're thinking about having hi, Rocky. The dog came running back in again. She mentioned, Adam may be coming on. I'm like, oh, sweet, cool. I don't have to worry about, some other photographer coming that you got to like show them the ropes here, meaning they know their job, but it's like ultra wet and windy, and they're struggling with cameras and gear. And if they're not used to that kind of stuff, it's kind of, and I've been around so many photographers now over the years that are great mountain photographers that you don't need to hold their hand. They're willing to help in every aspect of the hunt. They're there as part of the team. And so when you have like part of your team back, it's, Adam and I have been on like four hunts now. I think
a couple of goat hunts and a couple of deer hunts.
Yep. So so I don't have to, I know that he's, and whoever's following along with him is going to be a good dude. So Mr. Ben, good job.
Yes.
What's up, Ben?
Yeah, you had your buddy Ben here, and he's super talented. You're both just really talented. What was nice, when we were hunting together, you kept up, for every mile we walked, you did 2, at least, because you would run in front of us, you get to the side, you'd see the shots, you'd see the lighting be right, you'd see the setup, and we were running here, running there, and all we needed to do was just do our hunt.
Yeah.
And then just Adam was going to capture it. And, that takes a lot of fitness.
Yeah.
Honestly, when I saw it, because you're not the largest statured man,
I'm in the biggest chair right now, though.
For folks that are watching this, I mean, look at me. I'm like way lower. I'm smaller than you.
I should have you guys way behind.
Look how bulky out of it.
Stacked.
No, the cool thing about what I can tell you, like with guys like Adam and people we deal with, like at Sitka or whatever.
There's lots of good guys.
There's some great photographers, but like it's the guys that come along with me. I mean, they're just there to capture the hunt. They're not there like, hey, let's go do this. Hey, can we set this up? Can we set that? And like a bunch of fake stuff. It's just how it happens.
Yep.
And they can either keep up or you're going to get left behind or miss a shot, because we're here to hunt. We're not here to make some beautiful movie or something. You're here to hunt, and you need to capture it as it happens,
Yeah, and I'm really glad to hear you say that, Brian, because being on the hunting side of things and being sometimes the guy with the bow and a camera guy with me, constantly thinking about how to not impact the hunt, to basically let this thing roll out as naturally as it happens, good, bad, ugly, win, lose, draw, and be there to catch those moments that are going to dictate the narrative of the ups and downs and the bad weather and all those sorts of things. But at the end of the day, not impacting the hunt in a negative way. And I think that's pretty challenging to do, because you got two people, you got double the scent, double the chance of the dumb camera guy setting his tripod legs up and rattling off sticks, and it just increases the challenge. And
yeah. Like,
I don't envy anyone who has a TV show and they have to get, let's say, the final moments of the stock or the shot on tape, and they're literally, hey, are you on them? That makes it, you're basically almost killing the animal twice. You're making two perfect shots. You're shooting it with the camera and you're shooting it with the weapon that you're hunting with.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not easy. And so I'm glad to hear you say that. Because at the end of the day, we are so lucky to be able to do what we do. And I would say the crew that we had, the enthusiasm and the positive attitude, and just what was really nice for me was you guys had such an appreciation for, wow, this is an Alaskan adventure. We rode on a float plane and we climbed mountains and we got snowed on and all those things.
ran from a tsunami. Sort of.
All those things, to see that through your guys' eyes. And I've been lucky to do lots of stuff. Cole's been doing this for a really long time. And to be honest, sometimes people, and I would say myself included, take it for granted a little bit. Just, there's another nice sunset, another nice sunrise.
Just another trip into the mountains.
Another float plane. Mm-hmm. Tim was saying, wow, some of my favorite parts were flying in and flying out. And sometimes I think, well, I just try not to throw up when you're filming through a camera and you're looking.
Every time I get in one, I'm falling asleep.
And you're falling asleep.
But I've been on enough now. I know what you mean. I definitely take the plane ride for granted as long as it's safe, feels safe. I'm wide awake when the weather's nasty and we might die, but otherwise I'm pretty chill on those flights and take it for granted.
Pilot who likes to prank you.
Yeah. Not cool, Jay. So yeah, you talk about enthusiasm. You and Ben would come back at night and then you would totally nerd out over the shots you took, right?
Yeah.
We could hear you two like.
Well, they're over there in their studio.
In their, yeah.
The tent.
Their bomb
Put
shelter.
Together.
Yeah. And then they'd edit a little bit and show us what they captured for the day. But you guys truly nerded out on the craft and the shot. And then there were a few shots we actually tried to get when we were inside the tent. We had a whole day of just boredom. So we're like, well, let's get a shot here and let's get a shot of this. And there was a few things where we had to get the lighting right because it's so dark, and so hard to shoot in a place like that. So there's a few shots like that, not in the field, where we captured some things. And you guys would be like, oh, that's sick. Look at that. And I've been around a lot of camera guys that just don't get excited over it anymore, and it shows that passion that you've got for it. And I think, Ben hasn't really hunted, has he?
Personally himself?
Mm-hmm.
No, he's never hunted. He's been on quite a few boondoggles that I may or may not have roped him into.
And you and Ben met in college? No, you guys knew each other since you were kids.
I've known Ben a long time. Yeah, we played lacrosse together as kids. My dad coached us. We grew all the way up together. He's got a brother 2 years older, as do I. So we were the exact same ages. We played junior A lacrosse together in Calgary, and then we went to university together and lived together. His dad sewed my face up a few different times. Yeah, we've transitioned through lots of phases of life together, and I'm pretty lucky to have a guy like him as a buddy. And honestly, he's sort of when you talk about a mentor type person, he's always done this stuff full on. And you talk about the word craft, and he definitely possesses it. And it's really awesome to bring somebody outside of the hunting world. He's just sort of seeing the way that the light is hitting the mountains. And truly, I think one of his specialties is human emotion, right? And when the odds are stacked up against you and the mountain is steep, it's time to be right in there and looking into the eyes and the soul of the person who's going through that, right? Yeah. And he does a lot of bike packing stuff all over the world. He's filmed these trips and these projects that that challenge and that adversity brings out all those things that are so much more interesting than, okay, we went somewhere, we had an experience, and at the end of the day, we came back with an animal or an achievement. But I guess it's those moments of conflict and challenge and struggle that actually forge you into a different person and make these relationships stronger and make it more memorable, right? If that hunt that we just did was totally smooth, we just walked in there, shot a couple deer, walked out, it's pretty forgettable, to be honest.
Right. What's rule number 1?
Never miss. Never miss.
So rule number 1 is never miss. And yet, as especially as a bow hunter, I mean, as a hunter, that's going to happen. And when that happens, it's like, it rocks your world, because you can come off a previous hunt where you're king of the mountain and you just laid it down and everything was perfect. And then you come on another hunt and you make some critical errors in judgment, or it's an intense moment and things don't go as well as planned. And I feel like that's the story that often gets swept under the table. And instead, what you see on TV and, when people take you on a hunting kind of adventure like this, is you just see the all-star moments, right? And it's been scrubbed, and what you see is great, but to me, I feel like you're missing, those emotional moments that are real, that every hunter goes through, that no one really wants to talk about. You know what I mean?
No question. Yeah, and there was lots of those out there.
Thanks for that.
Yeah. Lots of misses. No, there was just lots of times that everything wasn't going according. Wild animals don't follow a script.
Yeah,
I mean, there's sure what we're going to do in the camera gear we've got set up, and always a hunt plan. I mean, Will, Cole's cousin, who's sort of under his wing now, is an assistant guide.
Mm-hmm. Yep, assistant guide.
Right. They make a plan, and they're talking about where they're going and what deer they've seen there and how to approach it and what the wind's doing. But at the end of the day, the animal doesn't follow a script. And so you get this X factor thrown in.
Yeah.
And that's going to happen. I mean, whether it be.
Well, and to see Ben capture that, even you got the camera there, you're getting all of it. When we were rafting out, right? Adam's sinking raft was going a little under, and he's got that 400 lens and the camera and all that money, and he's shooting off the back of the raft these shots, and Ben's
let him paddle harder. The plane is approaching. Hurry up.
Yep. And
no excuses.
What's funny is, Ben's back there. Yep. Adam's always high risk, high reward, and that's true. I always, you talk about bringing the camera out and capturing that emotion. A lot of time that's when people want to leave the camera off, but also when you're rafting a river in a sinking raft, and that's pretty unstable, and then to pull the camera out and roll the dice that you might drop, lose thousands of dollars in gear. A lot of guys don't want to bring it out when the storm is there.
That's what insurance is for.
That's right. That's when all the money is made. That's the magical moments,
I hope my insurance agent isn't listening to this. Yeah. But if he is.
That certainly helps.
No, but the good photographers, that's what they're there for, to capture those moments. And that's the cool thing about these guys is there's, when this stuff happens, the wind and rain and, the cameras are rolling, it's out all the time, and they know how to take care of it. Where you see these guys who are not used to having their equipment out in extreme weather, they're like, oh yeah, no, I've got a waterproof rain cover. It's like, oh, that trash sack you have? Yeah, it looks like a really good one. That's a nice, yep, that's really good.
Yeah.
And they don't know how to handle their equipment. They bring it in, it gets fogged up or moisture in there and it goes down and it's just,
It's tough filming conditions. Really tough. Something in this kind of environment is probably the toughest.
Yeah.
Extreme.
So wet. Yeah, it's so wet.
It's so wet. Over the past 7 years, what's a standout project you've been a part of that you just like have fond memories of? You could just say one with Cole, and then you're like,
no, I was actually.
I mean, it's like spoon fed on a platter.
He names all 12, like 15, 30 project.
There's like a teleprompter rolling up there. All my hunts with Cole. Thanks.
No, you did one with your dad, though. Did that one kind of stand out, or?
Yeah, everything.
Are they all
everything that I've done? I'm really just super fortunate. My dad and brother love to do this stuff, and they're in front of the camera a lot of the times when I'm carrying it around. The reason I hesitate is they're all just so different. I mean, the way that film and photography and the capabilities of this equipment has evolved, the way that companies are trying to tell stories that are different and unique and meaningful have evolved big time.
Yeah.
And so to be a part of that movement in some tiny little way, it's pretty exciting. So the reason I hesitated is they're all just so different and they've all changed. I mean, it used to be, I remember when video went on to DSLRs, right? 8 years ago or 10 years ago, maybe, basically. But when I carried a photo camera around, now I can carry a video camera around.
Yeah.
And looking back at some of the first stuff I did, I do have fond memories of that. It's totally Bush League. It's a couple of clips here and there, and you look back on it, and you can see the progression of the gear and your
craft
skill and all those sorts of things. So I can't really pick one, but I mean, since we're sitting here and the teleprompter's telling me to talk about it, we have done a lot of cool stuff together, Cole and I, and it is, again, getting back to those adverse moments, and whether it be weather, the mountains, the challenge of the hunt. We did a mountain goat hunt in 2014.
Yeah, I think it was 20. Yeah, somewhere around there, 2014. Somewhere there.
That is pretty memorable. We went up and we were filming it. I actually drew the tag. Cole was guiding. It was a guided hunt. It wasn't just my friend taking me. And
even though we are technically friends.
Yes. And we went up, and it was, I think, the second week of October, and it was just an awesome experience. We scrambled around the mountain, got to see Cole in his environment. It was the first hunt that we'd done together.
Yep.
And so you see these people around, you meet them at the trade shows, you're talking to them,
right?
You see him on the interwebs.
And what was your impression of Cole Kramer before you hunted with him? I'm just curious.
My impression was, I think he was kind of Hollywood, right?
Yeah.
He's
kind of.
He's good looking. He has all his teeth.
They're all
a hunting
straight.
guide, and all of my buddies are hunting guides.
He's got just the right amount of scruff.
Yeah, he didn't have any gray hairs in his beard at the time.
Right.
At the time, and that was pretty full on.
You're made for the camera, Cole.
I'm like the guy who lives in like this tiny town and spends 6-7 months a year guiding, and somehow I get the Hollywood stamp.
Just
that was my impression. It might be
mine
fair
too.
or not fair, right?
Mine too. Yeah, we're on the same page there. And then you went on a goat hunt.
We went up the mountain. It was so far.
There we were.
And it was so steep. It was an awesome hunt. So I think, actually, I remember now. I was saying, you meet these people and you never quite know what it's going to be like, if you're going to hit it off or you're not. And hunting is such a special thing to me, and I know to the people around me. You guys are the same. I can tell by the way that your eyes light up when you see an animal, and you're out there for, in my opinion, the right reasons. And when you think that you have that kind of connection with somebody, you have the best of intentions to go out there and see what happens, see where it goes. And then when you actually get out in the field, just like you said earlier in the podcast, you either hit it off right away, you realize that you're sort of similar philosophy on hunting, and away you go. And I think getting to see Cole in his element, right? He does these hunts, backpack style, carry all your camp on your back and go run these ridges. And it's sort of exactly how I like hunting. We like to hunt, grew up hunting. It's the way, in my opinion, that these mountain animals should be hunted. I mean, you should get on their turf and
do it.
Go do combat with them. It's sort of part of the experience. And you live, I mean, Cole is like 38% mountain goat.
Right. So after doing that, I mean, that was a hunt that really stood out for you.
But because
realistically,
it was the cookies and coffee, right?
Well, yeah, we had a lot of time, cookies and coffee. We get weathered in a little bit.
Yeah.
The thing, like, and truth be told about Adam and I's hunt, like on his, he's been on much harder, longer and all that type of. It actually worked out fairly quick, like in the hunt. I don't know if it was day 2 or 3 or whatever, maybe just day 2. But we had some pretty epic weather, and those guys did a great job. Adam did a great job of just handling it like a pro, and it was no big deal. And during that time period, I mean, when you get really brutal weather, and that's exactly what we got right after, it was starting to set in when we were stalking Adam's goat. And then once he shot his goat and we got over to it, it just kept building and building. And before you know it, it's blowing 80, 90 miles an hour.
Yeah.
And so, to have a group of guys that can handle that situation while, like, I'm used to having to butcher, pack it, set up camp, and the guys, and all kind of direct a little bit, hey, can you guys help here? Can you help there? Nope. They just all kind of jumped into place. I knew exactly how to handle every situation, and it was just like a team.
Yeah.
And so when you have people like that with you, that really stands out in your mind. That's what I try to go for with my hunters, is guys that, I don't need to take everyone that calls me, that wants to go do a hunt. I like the guys who want to be a part of the team and put forth their effort and leave here feeling like, man, I really put it all out there, left it all in the field. And that's, so that's how I think Adam and I kind of click.
And you did take a sit-cut blacktail with your bow, on a separate hunt, right?
Yeah, my old man was actually hunting bears with Cole, and I was shooting some photos, and Cole just said, hey, bring your bow. You never know what happens. I said, no, I'm just going to be the camera guy and have fun, glass for bears. And he said,
and you'd been to Kodiak.
That was your third trip.
Third or fourth.
Okay.
Third trip, I think.
And then we did that.
Well, you were fishing too, but like that, that was our third hunting trip.
So
you came on another.
Then we did Kelly's hunt too.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Yeah.
So you've been here before. It wasn't your first. Okay.
Yep. And no epic story there. Just right place, right time. Saw a buck. Saw a huge buck and actually missed him the day before.
Dang it.
I broke rule
number one.
Never miss. Never miss. For all of you not understanding this accent or why, is when I was in Azerbaijan, I totally missed a turret, like, I don't know, 50, 60 yards or something like that. And my guide with my bow, and there's only been like 6 tur ever shot with a bow. And the first day I totally missed this thing, and my guide turns to me and says, "Never miss, never miss." And he like goes to walk away, and he turns back, "Never miss." It's so Dustin Rowe and Steve Drake are there with us, and I just turned to him and go, "Never miss." He didn't find our sense of humor very appealing.
They are dead serious, aren't they?
Yeah. So now that's the number one rule.
Sarcasm doesn't quite translate.
It's lost on them. Yeah. Oh, that's pretty cool. Well, this is my first time to Kodiak Island. First time hunting Sitka blacktail here. I hunted on Prince of Wales Island, but it's a totally different climate, right? It's down southeast Alaska. It's closer to Oregon than mainland Alaska, closer to Washington, I should say, state of Washington. Up here, man, it was the first time, and to see the open landscape, the mountains, it was breathtaking. And then to see the deer everywhere and we sifted through a lot of deer, but when you see a big one, I needed Cole to help me like identify which one was large and which one wasn't.
Sure.
'Cause you know, I mean, a good 3x3 buck could be like 80 inches.
Sure.
And when you're going for something that's, 100, 90, mid 90s or one or bigger, you're not talking about a huge like size difference, yet the maturity and the mass that you get on that upper end is just different. Mm-hmm. But it takes a kind of a trained eye to pick that out.
We're still recovering, from a bad winter and whatnot. So, we've got a great recruitment crop out there of deer, but you're looking for those ones that squeaked by. And all over the island, there's ones that have squeaked by, but then there's, when you were sifting through them and, especially when you already have one, like in my train of thought, it's for my hunters, you get them a great representative species of the species and they're happy with it. Then when you try to look for something a little bigger or, something that really catches the eye a little, or maybe like just a different circumstance or whatnot. Yeah. But, you end up having to really look through them if you want to, really harvest a mature buck.
And Tim Lesser's buck, it's got some extras and it's kind of palmed and it's a really cool looking deer. And I only saw a couple like that, when we were out here looking.
Sweet buck.
But it was my first time and it lived up to expectations in every way, except I never saw a bear.
Yeah. Well, those other guys had, Michael, I think he had some good optics or something. He was the one that was really finding all the bears. We had our eyes in the dirt or something. We just didn't see all the bears cruising around.
And I was going to speak to the point of having a hard time field judging a smaller animal. I think
Coos deer, I did the same.
Totally. There's definitely the same. You're right. And then there's also the infamiliarity with it, right? And so if Cole goes and hunts elk, or I go and hunt maybe big whitetail deer in the Midwest, I'm going to look at every buck, and Cole's going to look at every bull and go, that thing is huge. Or or just looks good to me. I don't really know. I haven't looked at hundreds
that trained
and hundreds
eye takes some time.
Yeah. When people show up and they're used to looking at whitetail deer or big muleys, like when you see a small muley and then a big one, there's obviously, there's a much wider range of horn growth in those animals than these smaller bucks. Or these smaller bodied animals of the Coos deer or Sitka blacktail deer. And so it is kind of confusing. Even for me, I'm looking for more just the maturity side of them and whatnot, and but I'm not like an expert at like scoring these things. There's some of these guys that hang their hat on knowing every little point and inch and this and that and the other. It's not my thing. So, but, that's the goal, is to hunt these old mature bucks. But like you're saying, Adam, like when you go to somewhere else, I mean, that's what you get all the time, whether it be with bears or deer. Guys like, I'm no expert, but that one looks pretty good to me. And I think, well, that's, it's like, well, you're welcome to shoot it. I mean, or we can go off of what I think about it, but you're welcome to.
And I was talking
pretty good, Cole.
That was a pretty nice buck.
Pretty nice buck.
When I was talking to Cole about the bears, I was saying, I'd be happy to shoot a great, grizzly bear mainland somewhere, get on a hunt like that. Grizzly bear, brown bear, or whatever. Cole's like, yeah, which one? And I'm like, well, yeah, either one. Like, they're the same. And Cole's like, there's like an 800-pound difference or something between the two. Like, they're a little different.
Yeah. And you want to talk about an animal that's hard to judge, at least in my opinion, is bears. I mean, you look at an 8.5-foot bear out in the tundra and you see it, it looks pretty good. You put the spotting scope on and zoom in, and the thing fills up the whole objective lens.
Yep.
And you just,
it's frustrating.
Yeah.
I've been to Prince of Wales a number of times, and this last trip I was on, there was a bear on the beach, and I was filming it, and I was like, I just couldn't tell. Is he big? Is he small? And filmed it for a long time, and then, we stalked to within like 20 yards of the bear, and then had my bow with me, and I was like, I could shoot him if I want to, but I'm not. And then we left. Then we brought the footage back, and we showed a couple of guys that are been hunting there their whole lives that know bears, and they're like, you moron. Like, that was a huge bear.
Right.
Why did you shoot I'm like, really? It was? And then they started explaining why it was big, and I couldn't tell.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, that's half of my hunts. I can't tell, really. We just like, please make it big.
Flip a coin.
Yeah.
Are we going
No,
for
it does
or not?
takes some training, some experience. And even then, I think there's some people that are, like my buddy Anthony, he'll be like, that was a 7x8 bull, probably, 350s, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, I just saw a bull. Like, I couldn't tell you how many tips it had or what its character, like, I don't see it, and there are people I know that photographically, like, boom, they see horns and they know exactly, like,
the calculations are quick for them, and they can get it. Yeah.
I think that comes with experience, and I think it also comes with, if that's really important
interest.
to you. Yeah, if it's really, and you want to do...
Come here, Rocky. Sorry, we've got a ball to throw. He's going to get really mad.
It's like slimy.
Yeah. Come on, Rocky.
Oh, yeah.
Here we go. Go home.
There's attributes of what makes up scoring an animal like an elk, and there's also attributes what makes up finding a mature bear or deer.
Absolutely.
And body size and the way that they act and their body condition and all those sorts of things that go into you add up those pieces. And sheep are like that. I mean, you're looking at for sheep, you're looking at all those factors that go into it, and then usually, if you care about the score or not, most sheep hunters are just trying to get out there and kill an old ram, a 9 or 10 or 11, 12-year-old ram, right? And then that usually follows score. You're usually going to have bigger bases and more mass that carries and all that sort of thing, but it's less, you put the puzzle together. And then really, if you do really care about score, body size is so important, right? So if you have a sheep that is a normal body size sheep and it's a 160-inch doll sheep, all things being considered equal, a ram is standing on the mountain next to him and he's 10% bigger body size, which is way bigger. Potentially, you're talking about maybe 10% more everything, right? And half inch of bases and all those sorts of things. So it all goes into it, I guess.
Yeah, some of these certain areas, like you say, the rams, like some of the Chugats, you get these wide eye set rams. So when you're looking at the bases of the horns, it doesn't look that massive. Or it could be super tight, but you don't realize how wide the eye set is on those rams. And you get it, and all of a sudden it's 15-inch bases or 14-inch or 3/4, whatever. And you're like, holy crap.
Yeah. Or that ram's by himself.
Right.
And you're sitting there looking and going.
Right. Well, I mean, case in point, this spring, hunting with my buddy Chris Kamak, I see a beautiful brown bear up on the hill. I think it's okay. That's a great bear. Obviously, it's a big-bodied bear. Bears, you don't know what they're toting around on their head. We go over, we make this long story short. We go over there. Chris ends up arrowing this bear, ends up being the new world record. But would I have known, or would any other guide out there would have known? No. Zero chance of knowing that, because you just know he's an old, mature boar. But you don't know what they're carrying. Okay, that's the thing with bears. You don't know what they have. And so, but when you throw maturity into that realm, like an old, mature ram, an old, mature bear, old, mature goat is another one. They will dwarf their horns when they get 350 or 400-pound bodies. Their horns look so small on them. And and you don't, at that point, you're just like, that is a toad of a body of a goat. You just know everything else is going to follow suit with it. Right.
Mm-hmm. I don't think people realize how big mountain goats get. When I realized mountain goats would exceed 350 pounds, I was like, no, they don't. Like, I kind of assumed it's a goat for one, so it's smaller than a big mule deer. Mm-hmm. But it's not true. And you have big ones on Kodiak.
We have big bodied.
Yeah.
Goats. And we take some great scoring goats in terms of, if people get them scored or something, if they're Boone and Crockett or whatever it is. I just go off of maturity and size of body, because realistically, if most of my guys do a life size on their goats, and it's mounted up on the wall, and you could walk into the room and guys like, wow, that's a nice goat. And you say, yeah, it's a 10-inch billy. They're like, yeah, wow, that's awesome. And it's like an 8-inch billy.
Right.
Like people don't have a clue unless they really, really, really know what they're looking at. Half the people don't even know if it's 9/10 people don't even know if it's a nanny or billy.
Yep. Exactly. That's, and if you were to walk into my trophy room, humble as it is, you would come in there and you'd be like, why did he mount that one? And why is that mounted?
Yeah.
Oh, I totally understand that mount, you know. But for me, I've always done it for two reasons. Like, one, for example, I don't find the mountain goat, if I'm going to keep a memento, if I'm going to keep this a part of that animal, if I'm going to display it in any way, you know, the coat on a mountain goat is its magic thing. It's its special thing. Yeah. The horns are to me, they're just sort of, they're one set of horns to the next looks a lot the same, but that coat is spectacular, you know? And so for me, it's like, man, I want to view and see and touch that in my home. Right.
Yeah,
and with a blacktail buck, like a Sitka blacktail, I don't really care how big I like a decent.
They're beautiful.
It's their coat. It's the cape. It's the double throat patch and the colors and, you know, how it's brown and gold and the tips are black. And it's just that beauty is something, the white face. That is something that I want to display. And so I usually mount that. If I were to just take the antlers, and I'm not knocking anybody who does that, but if I were to just take the antlers, like Michael. If I were to just take the antlers, I'm like, I can't really tell the difference between that and a small whitetail or mule deer, right?
Well, everyone is different. Like, Michael has a huge Euro collection, apparently.
Totally.
Like, that's what he's into. He has a lot of Euro mounts, and that's what some people are into. Go ahead. Sorry.
And for me, I'm like, I have probably more into the coat and the color or whatever, the look of that.
Sure.
Like, my tar is not spectacular. You know, and I'm like, but the coat is incredible. Sure. You know, to see all that long hair. And so everybody has a different, you know.
Yeah. Everyone has different reasons for mounting something or not mounting something.
And some of the stuff I have mounted is strictly because of the memories and the people I was with and maybe the stock or the experience or how it went down.
Yeah.
Right. And so those are, people look at that and it's like, well, that's just a special hunt. That was just, that's a little forked horn blacktail buck from Portland, Oregon, but it was my dad's first buck with a bow. First blacktail buck with a bow. And we were together when it happened. And it's like, that deer, that mount has significance to me.
Sure. Yep. I took my, Grandpa Glenn, guy who got me into hunting, took him up to Canada, several years ago. And we'd always watch like whitetail hunting and stuff in Missouri, growing up there and in Kansas and whatnot. But I hunted a lot of whitetail in Missouri, and we'd always watch those like Realtree or Buckmasters, you know, Canadian hunts where they go up there and sit in their blinds and whatever. So when he got diagnosed with cancer, I took him up to a whitetail hunt because I didn't know if it was like the last time, you know, or not. Right. And so I took him up on a hunting trip, and I'm like, okay, Grandpa, now remember, this is Canada. Okay, this is where the big ones are. Don't just shoot the first deer. Like, definitely don't shoot a doe. Because I didn't drive you all the way up here from Kansas City because he wouldn't get on a plane. Didn't drive you up here from Kansas City to shoot a doe. Right. Because where we hunted and growing up, brown, it's down. Right. Like, we're not there for horns. He's like, you can't eat them damn horns, boy. Don't you be passing up on them does. So I told him, I was like, no, now, Grandpa, just seriously, these were the big ones are, you know, like that video. And he's like, oh, yeah. So anyway, first day. I mean, I'm glad he shot a buck, you know. I really am. I didn't want to, like, break their streak of no does at that lodge. But regardless, he shot a buck, and it was just you know, and at night, I come rolling in the dark because he's in his own blind, and he's standing over there, and I see this, like, fairly small buck hanging upside down in the rafters there. And I'm like, who shot that? And I see him come around the corner, and he puts his hand up, hey, you know, and I was like, all right, he's excited. So, but point is, I got it mounted. You know, I wanted to mount it. He goes, oh, no, we don't need to mount it. You know, and I said, no, I want it mounted. And I told him, I brought it back up here and had my buddy mount it up here. I said, you know, and I sent it to him. And he's like, well, I just don't know why you want to mount that. You know, and I was like, well, I said, here's the thing. When you pass, because we're all going to die, but when you pass, I want that mount. Because that is my memory of us going to Canada together, that deer. And so, I mean, that, to me, no one else would have mounted that deer. It's a really small 8-point, you know. But, like, to me, that's my memory of us going there together. It has nothing to do with how big it is or whatever. It's just a beautiful whitetail buck but it's just helps me remember that, and we have a bunch of pictures as well. But yeah, everyone has their reasons.
It's it's definitely
awesome
that beauty is in the eye of the beholder, right?
Yeah.
Like for you, it has a certain beauty because of all that stuff that's around it.
Yeah.
One thing I enjoyed with Adam Foss is that when you sit down and you have a discussion with Adam, he readily will disagree with you. Mm-hmm. There is no there's no agreeing just to be polite, or you can absolutely he'll just be like, yeah, no, I don't agree. And I really love
but does
that.
it in a respectful manner.
Oh yeah. He's not being mean or anything. He's just like he's very which I think it displays a healthy level of confidence, and then the discussions were always engaging because you could, whenever you're with someone who doesn't tell you what they really think, you can't really get to know someone.
Sure.
We had a lot of talking.
What time is it?
Yeah, there was that right around. Some days we kind of hit it at 11.
Yeah, it was usually right around as soon as the morning push and excitement, and the sun got a little bit higher, and the deer were starting to slow down. No, I mean, hopefully I didn't offend you too badly.
I think you cried one time.
Oh no. Like,
no,
you know what I mean? And have you always been that way your whole life, or is it something?
You should probably turn the camera back on Ben and see if
Ben's giving me the thumbs up. Yeah.
To be honest, if I feel like we had gotten to know each other after a couple of days, right?
Yeah.
And I don't think I was disagreeing you when we landed on the plane, maybe. Once I feel comfortable, I mean, I think I have respect for you. You have respect for me. We have a conversation, and oftentimes I usually was, I disagree, and then hey, don't think about it this way and from this perspective, and a lot of the times I found myself, oh, okay, yeah, maybe I'm not as hard set on my thought, or at least I'm seeing a different perspective. But I guess I feel comfortable enough around you guys to be able to disagree or have conversations and be told that I'm full of crap too, because these are just my ideas that I have sitting up on the mountain
That's one of the things that I've always noticed about Adam is he always engages people like, why? Well, how come you believe that? Why do you think this? And not just because it's so easy for us all to be like, well, I think this. And you're like, oh, okay. And because
leave it there.
We're all kind of strong personalities here, and we all have our thoughts, and we're a little bit aggressive males here at times, and so I think it's a nice conversation when you have to explain yourself and then learn other people's thoughts. That's just like with me. I've tried to open up my mind, even though at first I may not be open to your thoughts or whatever or your opinions. Or when I'm setting up camp, I have my thoughts of how it needs to be done, right? And then,
what are you doing?
Being so worthless, Brian.
You're doing a great job.
Anyways.
Brian. You're doing a great job. I'm real proud of you guys. You're doing a great job. What are you doing? Put that over there.
Why are you stacking it like that? But no, I think it's great to have good conversation like at night. And that was what was enjoyable about this whole trip with everyone, was to hear about the reasons why people believe a certain way or don't believe a certain way. And especially in this time where we have, as hunters, different sides of the hunting aspect of people saying how we should be, how we should not be. And that's how some of our conversations obviously went out there, whether or not we should do this or not do that, or, what we should be showing, what should we not be showing. And so those are the conversations that, you have your old school mentality of hunting, and then you have, now of how people are saying, well, we really need to look at some of these other people of how they're just looking at it from the outside, and so, and you can't be so closed-minded about things, and be a little more sensitive to others about it.
And that's a great thing about these hunts. This hunt in particular, it's you hit it hard during the day, and then it's dark at 4:45 or 5 o'clock. You're back in the tent, gearing down, and Cole's getting ready to make a 5-course meal. And then you get in the tent, and you get to talk, about hunting stories and life. I mean, we heard about people battling with loved ones, going through cancer treatments and kids doing phenomenal things. And sure, there's a lot of hunting stories and bull, but a lot of it is really deep, meaningful conversation that I would argue only happens in a place like that. Because if we meet up for a coffee or cookie,
right,
it's just,
you're not going to engage like that.
Yeah,
right.
It's such a big part of our everyday life is just, I would call it like surface level. It's just sort of small talk and how are you and catch up. It's just very rare that you get to dive so much deeper. And then every day that goes by, you feel more comfortable and you're opening more and more and you're going through hardship during the day and you come back. And it's honestly one of my favorite parts about hunting because and that's why Cole and I get to be great buddies because we've done that multiple times. And the next trip that we go on, we'll pick up right where we left off. And it's just really special. And I don't think it's hunting specifically. I think hunting just allows you the foundation for all those things that happen. You have no connection to the outside world. You have being in nature, fresh air, animals, all those things stir up all those emotions in your spirituality and your soul. And you start to think about those things. You look at the stars and how can you not sit out there in the tent and be in awe of this world that we live on? So I love that part of it. And as I go on more and more of these trips, it becomes more and more a memorable part. And everyone was going around the circle talking about the highlights of their trip last night. And for me, it was hanging out in the tent with you guys and talking and hearing about everything that you've done and how you think about things and how special this trip was. It was just really cool.
Mm-hmm.
What I really like about all that too is, let me get that for you there, bud.
Thank you.
When you're out there, I just telling Tim, I went through 8.5 AAA batteries. I should say 2.5 sets of AAA batteries.
You brought your
for my
Game
headlamp.
Boy?
Dude,
You're playing Super Nintendo.
there's so much. There's like so many hours of darkness that the headlamp got used 10 times as much as it does on a normal, kind of earlier season hunt or a southern hunt. But you're right. Not only are the nights long, which I appreciate because I like sleep, there's also the rained out afternoons or storm. We had that tsunami day and that, again, you're in there all day. And so you do disconnect from the outside world. And when you come back, you kind of have that moment where you're like, you feel a little sick reconnecting. Like, what's happened? What's coming through? And,
right.
And you've felt at such peace being out there that when you come back, it's like you got to kind of re-immerse yourself and you feel a little, it's hard to do it.
Yeah, I know. Like when I first started coming out, and I'd get down with these big hunts, and something really epic would happen. And like I want to tell people, my friends, but I also like just holding it for a while. Holding it inside, and then when I wanted to release it out to people, like tell the story, then I just hated getting off the plane. Hey, this is what we did. And it's just like, it's really nice just to hold it between yourselves for a little while. And meaning not like social media, not like, I just mean like, it is kind of like soaking it all up and enjoying that. Getting back to like what you were saying, just getting to know people, like for me as a guide on a one-on-one basis, that's like, especially like on bear hunts where you're just glassing for hours and hours and hours and hours. You really, really get to know your hunter really well. And you either really like each other or you don't, and even if they're not super hardcore, maybe you're teaching them a lot, but like at the end of the day, like they've told you a lot of stuff. I've been told things that
like the bartender,
it will never be repeated to anyone else again because it was either a family secret or if it was whatever this, whatever that. And it creates this bond between you and your hunter, and they may be some huge executive or a surgeon or attorney or, a construction guy or whatever, but they just know me as the guy they can come out with and just blow it all off and hike their butt off and or, put it out there and get what they need out of that experience. But you're connecting on such a tight level, together. And which it's so awesome as this whole group, but I felt like, I could have spent more one-on-one time with Tim or Ben or Michael or, even you, Michael, yes. But you, Brian, or Adam, you know what I mean? Like it's awesome being in these big groups, but I kind of feel like, I didn't get enough one-on-one time with this person or that, just because you want to, at least I want to get to know my people and stuff. And it's a real bummer for me when I have clients that show up that are strictly there just to check their box and off they go. I mean, it's so cool to have guys that just really enjoy the whole experience and the adventure. And I say that like on every podcast or something like that. Those are the people that I really like being around, that enjoy the whole experience. And you guys, all of us here were on the same wavelength. Like we didn't have to worry about one person or another. Like everyone had a great time,
right?
And was willing to chip in. And that last day we're breaking camp and we got to get on the river. I mean, like it's a stressful morning. I'm thinking, crap, I should have woke up at 4, not 5. Dang it. And it all worked out, to get out on time. But it seems it's always, like Adam and I were talking, always it's a boondoggle getting out. And even though things went smooth and it went about as smooth as it could, it's still stressful, and when you have everyone that's willing to work and to help, then it's great.
Things would have been completely different if Adam's leak rate on the raft was a little faster. Like that would have been an entirely different day.
I think I would just still be there, and you guys would have flown back 150 pounds later.
Like we'll get him eventually. He'll be fine.
It was losing air fast, man.
I don't know if it's valve or what on that.
But no, absolutely. We need to wrap up. But before we tie up this podcast, one last thing, Adam. What would you like to see more of in this kind of space where people are sharing these adventures? Like, what is it? What's out there that maybe you don't like? You don't have to talk about that, but I mean, what are things that you want to see?
Well, I think that, man, I think we should come back and do a whole podcast on this, because I think this is going to jump off into a whole really interesting discussion. Some of that stuff that we talked about in the field, I think, would be really interesting. I think it sounds cliche, but just, I guess, tell the story how it is, and that's the whole part of it. Because just like this trip, there's so much more than just the final throws of a stock or killing an animal. And I know that's sort of beating a drum that's been beat pretty hard, but there's this whole other part of it. And when I talk to people that hunt or don't hunt, some of the most interesting things that they latch onto are, I mean, the fact that Kodiak blacktail deer aren't native, and we're talking about the different species and the wildlife and how this ecosystem works together. And there's red fox and black fox and cross fox, and where do they come from? And what is the biologist saying about this wipeout in Kodiak that happened in the 80s or 60s, 80s? And how we got there and where this species is headed, and all those things I think are so interesting. And I think that as hunters, you are an active part of wildlife management, and you buy your tag, you punch your ticket, you go out there and perhaps kill an animal and take it home. You get to be, for those 6 days or 10 days, you get to be a part of it. And that's what I like. The people that inspire me, maybe that tell stories or write or make films, do a good job of that, and do it in a way that maybe not because it's perhaps trendy to do so, or their soul is in it. And I just really like that. I just really think, like, I took environmental science. I thought maybe I'd be like a biologist or something. I didn't really know, but that's what I think is so cool. And hunters like Cole is not that different from somebody who is an ecologist or a wildlife biologist. Like, really not. He's pretty much going through very similar. I mean, and in a large part, he probably knows a lot more. He does. I mean, he's out there every day seeing deer numbers and seeing age of bears and that sort of thing. So I guess, just try to tell the whole story, tell it truthfully and honestly, and bring light to everything about hunting that is why we do it. And I don't think there's anyone out there that isn't specifically trying to do that. I think it's just hard. It's just hard.
I do think it's hard.
Yeah.
I think sometimes what people do as well is they feel pressure to make something, let's say, spectacular, or rather than just tell the story for what it is.
Right.
They try to make it into something that it wasn't.
Right.
I think there's a lot of people that just think they have to film or take photos of some huge animal being shot, and if they don't have that, then it won't be anything.
I think that's the other end of the spectrum.
And they're worried that maybe they didn't shoot a big animal, so there wasn't much of a story there. You know, yeah, do we all like to see the person get this or that? But at the end of the day, you know, it's like quit worrying about how big this animal was or whatever. If you're in Adam's place and you're trying to, you know, whether you're trying to make a film or whatever you're doing, I mean, it's like just show the process.
Yeah.
You know, because remember, yeah, you got your buddies that you're always going to have someone, you know, that either you shot something and these other haters are going to be like, wasn't very big. Did you see that?
Right.
Or it's the world record and they're like, yeah, but it was like, it was like asleep, basically. You know, so it doesn't matter. But the point is you also have a lot of people that may watch that are like, I just don't know if I want to get into hunting or whatever. And they watch it and they don't give a crap how big it was, but they see the side of, wow, that looks really cool to get out there, or that looks like it, you know, that's almost just like hiking, but you know what? Maybe I don't really want to go to the store to buy my meat anymore. That was a really respectful manner in how they took that deer and how they took care of it in the field, and they're coming back and they're eating it. I really like that, and showing everyone taking part in it in the process and giving thanks for it. And you know, that is what hits a lot of people. You know, it's instead of just normal hunting porn of freaking, you know, blazing away. Big
I
stuff.
think you got those ends of the spectrum where you know, you're trying to overproduce it in a way, make it something that it really wasn't, you know, or the other way where you're just trying to get you feel like you just show some big animal getting taken and you're done. You know? But yeah, I agree. I feel like you just tell it like
looking
it
at
is.
Adam's photos last night, look at your deer hunt. You know, did you shoot a big buck on that?
No, you could have put both of them together. And It would have been a small buck.
Right. But the point is, I was just mesmerized by your photos.
Well, and a lot of that was Ben's.
Right.
Shout out to Ben.
But shout out Ben. But regardless, the point is, people like myself and a lot of people out there nowadays, I mean, I don't think it really matters what you're hunting in the way that you show it and display it and capture that is that in itself is something really beautiful, you know, and you know, you're wrapped up in looking at all those photos or your film, and it's just the whole process, you know. There's so many things that I think would be appealing to watch, and it has more so how it's put together rather than the size of what it is.
And you mentioned it the other last night, this morning. It is so much about place and location and geography and the places that you get to go. I mean, if these blacktail deer lived in a different place, I mean, part of the excitement is you're hunting this deer, but look at the mountains and the eagles and everything that goes into it, right? And that's what I'm sort of getting at. I know we got to wrap up. The last thing I wanted to say on when Cole was talking about his closeness with his clients and how he talks to them, and I think that that's something that I definitely have seen Cole and look up to Cole because I've seen him hunt with experienced guys, tough guys, type A kind of guys, and I've seen him hunt with maybe less experienced hunters. I know he's telling us stories of young women that have come hunted with him, and or young men who aren't as experienced. Lots of really experienced female hunters out there, but Cole has a pretty unique ability of sort of shifting gears and being like a support system when you need it.
Or sometimes it may.
Or telling you to get you need to get it together and we need to get going. But it's pretty unique, and I think that a lot of guides, and I got lots of buddies who are guides and been on hunts with guides, been guided, and they're a little bit perhaps like one dimensional. They're going to be I'm the tough, hardcore guy. You better keep up. You better pack your own stuff, and I'm not going to wait for you. I'm not going to help you. Or there's sort of maybe the person that's really trying to go over and above. And I guess like Cole has a pretty, and I've seen
Balanced.
it firsthand, like he's just sort of
Reads people.
Yeah, reads people, knows what they need, reads the situation. And a big part of it is he knows like what you're capable of, and he's like kind of there to push you even a little bit further if that's what it needs to happen. And I've just seen that a lot of times in him, and it's pretty impressive because it could be, and I know it would be very hard if you're just rolling these hunts. I mean, he's doing hunts in the spring and then a couple sheep hunts in the summer and goat hunts and bear hunts. And you drop somebody off at the airport and you pick up the next person and you're, okay, this is this person's maybe once in a lifetime hunt. I have to be, this has to be the happiest day of my life and I have to be chipper. And you're thinking about it and your hunt is made or broken by your guide.
Yeah.
Bar none. I mean, you can have a great hunt, awesome weather, tons of animals with a guy or girl that you don't get along with, and it's not as positive an experience. Or you can knock it out of a tent and have a guide like Cole, and you basically just went on a brown bear hunt to play cribbage with Cole. That's not that bad.
who cooks like marvelous pancakes every morning.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for all the nice comments. Adam,
Yeah.
but I did
true.
pay him. But
it is
true. I have seen, like you said, those one-dimensional guides, and I do have to remind myself, because I'll tell you straight up sometimes, and things leak out. And I kind of regret saying stuff, and gosh dang, I shouldn't have said that. Or I can be a little hard on people at times, especially like when I know they're capable, and I get frustrated. Like I get frustrated at my cousin Will. He's a good kid, hardworking kid, but like I'm like, come on, you can do better. Come on. Yeah. But then like when you have someone in camp who's trying to learn, you got to dial it back. I mean, I've had guys walk in like, what's this thing? I'm like, that's a 1 pound propane canister. A what? It's like, that's propane. What do you do with it? It goes in this lantern. Really?
Right.
To guys who know absolutely everything.
Right.
So you don't really need to. And I've had it to where like, so I have that guy who shows up or that girl who shows up, and I'm trying to be caring. Then I've had guys who are 70-some years old who I'm struggling to tie their shoes, and so I'll just kneel down in time. I don't need to say anything, just help the guy out. And I've had that guy get pissed at me, after a couple of days of me doing that. Said, "You're treating me like a 2-year-old. Get away from me. Leave me alone." And I'm like, "Oh, I'm sorry. I just was trying to help you. I wasn't trying to belittle you. No one else is here to see it." But you never know what someone's going to be like, but you just have to read your situation. And I had a great mentor here that I worked with. Paul is like awesome dude that I've never seen him get mad at anyone. I've worked with him for 16 years and he's never been mad at me, that I could ever tell. Never yelled at me in a harsh way or anything. And it's just like, wow, I've let
something to aspire
squeak out a few times that I'm like, I probably should have said that. I probably could have handled that a little bit.
Obviously didn't teach you that.
Yeah, exactly. My filter is not always there. But it's like you say, Adam, when you get the next person, you got to start over. And you got to, get in the right mindset.
I always struggle when I go on a hunt with a guide. Because on my own, I would choose this, and I'd go here. And, and you kind of know, when you take charge of something, I mean, you're the only guy. You're in charge of yourself, right? Mm-hmm. And then when you go with a guide, you're relying on them to help you and to they know the area, they know the species, they know this, and so you kind of put yourself in their hands and you follow them. And when I started to realize as I went on a few guided hunts that it was no different than going with my buddy Anthony in an area I've never been for an animal he's been hunting for the past 20 years, and he's just teaching me along the way. I'm like, Anthony, what do I do next? And he'll be like, this is what I would do. And it's no different. When you get on a hunt where you're doing like a bow stock, mm-hmm. right? And it's time to close the deal, and you've been there many times and you've done it, and you're there with a guide who's like, this is where we're going to go, and we're going to go. I feel like at times there can be a conflict because it's like, well, I would do this and I would go this way, or I would take twice as long to do that, or I'd go way faster, whatever it is, right? And there's this communication that has to take place and this kind of dance that happens between the guide and the person. And that's where with Cole, he's like, he kind of reads all that and just sort of like helps you navigate through that very easily. When you were telling stories, Cole, you've been there a lot. You've done all this stuff, but you were telling some stories about you being on a guided hunt, and the guide saying, "Go here, do this, do that, do that," and you in your own mind, you're like, "Well, I don't know why I would have just gone here," but you deferred to the guide and you followed the guide's guidance because that person has more experience in this area, has done it longer, and you let someone else give you direction, right?
Right.
And I feel like, that's the sign of maturity when you're not too proud to follow the guidance of someone else.
You could imagine if here I am getting pissed off at people who don't listen to me, and then I go on a guided hunt that I've saved my money for, or get the opportunity to go on, and if I don't listen to them, well, that's that's a little hypocritical. So, the way I look at it is like, hey, I'm here to, I hope I made a good choice by going with these guides, right, that I have going with, right? And you trust them, and you just have to trust that they're taking you in the right place. And guess what? Guides make mistakes. But like what I tell my hunters, especially if I feel pretty sternly about my decision on the stock or whatnot, it's a team effort, number one. But what I tell them, like, hey, I would much rather be the one that messed it up than me knowing that you're going to mess it up. And we go do what you want to do and we mess it up. Because I've watched guys blow their own stocks constantly. And they want to do it their way, and it's just like, okay. And I get to a point where it's like, okay, now why don't you just follow me?
Yeah.
And because especially bow hunters, because they want to kind of do the final on them. And that's totally fine. But you watch a guy, do something, this and that and the other. And some guys have it, some guys don't. Like, I know that, like with you guys know how to handle yourselves, but there's some guys who think they do, but they still need a little bit, it's like, I think I know how to do a certain trade, just because I dabbled in it a little bit. But when you're with a professional that does it all the time, we're not hunting for several weekends or several weeks. Yeah. We have to get it done. I have to get this done in this allotted amount of time period. That's just what it is. That's the goal.
Yeah.
Or that's part of your goal. Yeah. And so, but it's a team effort. And what I've found is I'd rather just, there's sometimes where it's crystal clear what needs to happen right now. And I'm going for it. But there's times where it's like, okay, guys, well, what do you think here? This is what I'm thinking. What are your thoughts? Let's hear this. Because it's good to have a good collective, effort from everyone.
And that decisiveness is oftentimes what makes or breaks it. And on those,
just make a decision.
And if I'm hunting with my brother or something, and I'm running the rangefinder and he's got a bow, or the roles are reversed, you kind of take on that leadership level, right? Yeah. Where you're just, okay, I'm shooting. If it is a one-person stock, that's one thing. If it's two people, maybe somebody's filming or just there to range. And you're hunting animals like bears and sheep and goats. Maybe there's a band of rams or a couple of billies, and you want to be focused on being able to make the shot with a bow, and you want somebody over your shoulder just sort of double checking, hey, yeah, that's the ram. He's 11. He's on the right. He's looking down. Wait, he's 36 yards. Just reaffirming that. It is so helpful. And then when things start to get haywire, it is that person that's going to sort of smooth everything over. And so point of what I'm saying is Cole can take that role when he's up here guiding me on a mountain goat hunt and does very well. If he came on a hunt with me and I said, okay, you're up, and it was the right play for a two-person stock, I would take that role as, hey, this is what we're going to do. And he's just thinking, okay, is my sight set? Is my rest working? You're checking all those things. And you can focus on making that shot. And it is that part is deadly. I mean, it is super deadly. Like the things that I've killed, it's like my brothers basically killed them. I just was the one who popped up and shot him. Yeah. And he just said, we're going to do this and that and that. Okay, cool. Yeah. 44 yards. Sweet.
There we go.
Well, and like crawling when you're, some guys don't like two men going at it once. They're like, no, I'll just do it myself. I'll range it myself. Well, they're crawling along. They're looking for the animal. They're going. Then all of a sudden, like I'm watching them from behind, and they're like crawling along, but they've got their head down, and the animal's looking right at them, and they've got them. Whereas like when we're crawling along, like the other day, it's like I'm crawling along, but then it's like put you in front of me. It's like you just go. I'll just grab your ankle if you. If the goat or the deer looks up over the hill like he was doing, then I'll just tap your foot or grab your ankle, and that way, and so someone's always looking. And then, if the buck's moving, I could be reading your ranges or doing whatever,
Yeah.
I mean, it is what it is. But I had a hunter this fall who, that was just his thing. He goes, hey man, I know I'm probably going to mess it up, but it's just part of it sometimes is I like to kind of do my own thing a little bit, and if it would be cool, could I just do this deer stalk on my own? It's like, yeah, sure. I mean, I'm like right behind him, just behind some bushes, but he did like the final like closing 30 yards or whatever. And he did his deal and he did a great job, but to him, he would much rather blow 7 or 8 stalks and then finally get it done, him kind of doing it on his own. And that's fine. But at the end of the day, guess what? He paid the money to be here and it's part of his hunt. That's what he wants to do because I could be like, no, you're not doing that. And then I go up there and I do everything and I'm like, ha, see what I tell you. And at the end, he's like, this is not what I mean.
Right.
And you just blew it for him. Cause I've met many guys at the outdoor conventions that they got their animal, but they were not happy with the way it happened with their guide, and I've had guys leave with me like that. So it's just, it can go.
Communication,
you gotta be careful.
I think is that critical piece, right?
Yep.
But it's been I went hunted with Bart Lancaster for mountain goats, and I think he's killed, I don't know, some 70, 80 mountain goat hunts, You get on enough hunts like that and you do it enough times. This is my first one. There were things that I would, if it were up to me, I wouldn't have got the shots I got and I wouldn't have got the goat that way, most likely. Like, and being around someone that's an expert and having them guide you is pretty sweet. It's pretty sweet, but it takes some humility to do it,
Sure.
But I had a killer time. I'm looking forward to the next adventures. I appreciate you coming on the podcast.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Thanks for all your hard work this last week.
Hey, thank you. I had my share of pancakes and French toast. I have to say, the French toast is my preferred choice. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Pancakes are second, but your
pancakes. Your only two choices.
your pancake. I was joking. It was like every other day. It's French toast one day, pancakes the next. French toast, pancake. It alternates. I was really excited when it was a French toast day.
I think I'm in French toast camp too.
Yeah,
it's pretty good.
That's the cinnamon really.
The butter
does it. Yeah,
the butter too. Like, butter's more important than syrup.
Yeah, I'm sorry I held out on you.
Whoa. Hang on a second.
It is.
Butter is more important. So you would rather eat a French toast with butter than a French toast with syrup?
Yes.
Oh, I don't know how I feel about that.
You're Canadian. No, it was pretty cool. Folks, look forward to, we're going to share these hunts, all the footage and stuff, and put a little film together of the adventure. So I'm looking forward to that. And you'll see Adam's work and
Ben's.
Yep, Adam, Ben's work.
Mostly Ben.
And
I just try to stay out of his way.
He is freaking talented. It's not really Adam Foss, it's Ben.
It is
That's
Ben.
the talent.
Actually, now I think of it, Adam didn't even see Adam with the camera.
I didn't even actually, never even has batteries.
So much lighter.
Look forward to that. And as always, folks, thanks for tuning in to the Gritty Podcast, and stay gritty.